Hi everybody, this is Brett from Lightning Tools. Welcome to our webinar this afternoon. We're going to be talking about DeliverPoint, and we're going to take a look at how we can use DeliverPoint to report and manage permissions, both as a site owner, SharePoint site collection administrator, or also as a SharePoint administrator as well. And we've got a couple of exciting features to announce, which we're going to be, of course, demonstrating throughout the webinar today. So just before we get going, if anybody does have any questions they'd like to ask, feel free to drop those into the Q&A panel, which should be enabled for you. And I'll look out for those and read those out and answer those towards the end of the webinar. We are recording as well. So I won't mention you by name if I do read out any of those questions. And you will be able to watch back this webinar or share the webinar as of tomorrow, once I've edited out any of those mistakes that I'm likely to make as we go through. So before we dive into any form of demonstration, just a quick introduction to myself and also to Lightning Tools for those that are not familiar with us. So we're a company based in the UK. Currently in Leicestershire at our headquarters in England, and we also do have our subsidiary over in Orlando, Florida. And throughout the two locations, we provide, of course, technical support to our clients in North America and the rest of the world as well. So we're into our 19th year providing products for Microsoft SharePoint. I'm a Microsoft 365 MVP and also an ISO 27001, ISO 9001 certified organization, and of course we're a Microsoft partner as well. So that's a bit about us. If there's any other questions about the company, feel free to reach out, but I'm sure you're here to learn more about the product and not so much about us as Lightning Tools. So what we're going to be taking a look at, first of all, is just to, first of all, make sure we're all on the same page as to what problem we're solving with DeliverPoint. So we're going to take a look at the obvious problem of oversharing and possible data exposure as well from within inside of our SharePoint sites that we're managing. And then we're going to dive into a complete overview of DeliverPoint. And throughout that overview of DeliverPoint, we'll also be discussing those new features that I announced as well, which include the ability to schedule permissions actions and also comment on some of the actions that you're performing when you're making permission changes. And like I said, at the very end, I will read out some of the questions and of course provide answers to those questions as well. All right, so state of permissions in SharePoint. So little has changed in the SharePoint world. Of course, Microsoft is making, with regards to permissions, there's lots of changes in the SharePoint world, but with regards to permissions, there are some improvements around tools such as data access governance and so on. We will be discussing some of those, and towards the end of this year, there should be some changes as well from Microsoft in the way that sharing links work with these things called hero links, and you'll be able to find out a little bit more about that just using a quick Google search. The underlying problems still are present, and that is that it's very easy to overshare content inside of Microsoft SharePoint, and lots of people are sharing content using the everyone except external users group, or creating anyone links inside of your organization, and not really paying attention to what the default options are when it comes to sharing as well with inside your site, which can easily lead into overshared content. And of course, that can have the knock-on effect with tools like Copilot. So if we're rolling out Copilot, of course, Copilot is running within the context of the user that is currently signed in. And whilst you may not be deliberately trying to find information that you should not be privileged to, it may be that Copilot serves you with an answer that you should not have been privileged to, and that could have been because somebody happened to click onto copy link somewhere, create an anyone link, and that link should not really be something you should be able to look at. So the use of sensitivity labels helps with that, and we'll be diving into some of those sensitivity labels as well. Okay, so yeah, we'll have a look at how easily content can be shared. There's also the lack of visibility into sharing links and permissions, especially from a site owner's perspective. So when we're talking about a site owner, of course, you may have created a site, created a SharePoint site or a team, and within inside that, you've got lots of content that your team or your organization is creating, and it therefore becomes your responsibility as that site owner to make sure that the right people are able to access that content. This is something that is quite often overlooked or considered to be not your job because security is the job of IT. However, IT doesn't always know who should have access to your content. They are not that affair with some of the information that may be residing inside of your site. So it's better that you learn how to manage permissions more effectively, and therefore can manage the permissions more effectively when you've got the right tools to do so. So yeah, there's limited out-of-the-box tools for site owners, kind of what we just mentioned, and also there's no real bulk reporting or management of permissions even for SharePoint administrators. Yet there's things like PowerShell, there's also data access governance, Purview, etc. But these are still quite limited in the way that they do report on some of that content. Okay, so just a couple of causes of oversharing. I mentioned one of them already, and that is the copy link, which is at the top in the middle here. This graphic is actually provided by Microsoft, not by Lightning Tools. So the default sharing option is everyone. So if you do happen to be in a SharePoint site, even as a member, not as a site owner, you may be able to click onto copy link and have that link become an anyone link, and therefore anybody with that link would be able to access that content without authenticating, and we'll be demonstrating that in just a moment. Not only that, if that link is potentially posted on the internet, could be fairly innocently dropped into a blog post or something like that, you're at risk of something like Google or Bing indexing that content, and the content of whatever file that sharing link links to could then start to be discovered outside of your organization just simply by doing a Google search. There's also setting the site that you're creating to private as opposed to public. This can be a challenge. Of course, people aren't going to be aware of that when we're creating documents inside of document libraries. They may assume it's locked down when it's not, and therefore putting sensitive content within inside the libraries, and everybody in the organization being able to access that content. Broken permission inheritance, that's quite an old one, been around ever since SharePoint was introduced. And then we've got the everyone except external users group being used as well. Perhaps there's lots of people that we want to share some content with or grant permissions to, and the everyone except external users group is often a quick way of doing that, rather than adding the appropriate people to the relevant groups and organizing your content effectively. And sensitivity labels, again, with Copilot, this becomes quite critical. So if we've got content that is labeled appropriately, and there's the right governance behind that sensitivity label, any rules determining who can access the content if it is labeled, then that will help you with Copilot. So again, if we were to post a question, even if there isn't any one link on a document, if we were to post a question inside of Copilot in a Copilot prompt, if it's labeled with the right policy behind it, Copilot still won't actually service that answer, even if we have permissions to that content. So it's critical to make sure that sensitive content is marked as sensitive as well. So let's just take a quick look at how some of this content can be overshared. I've basically got two browsers here. One of them I'm signed in as a site owner. That's on this SharePoint team site called Human Resources. There's some content in here such as employment contracts and other sensitive content like that. I'm also signed in to the same site as a different user, and that different user is demo user 5, and demo user 5 is only a member. So they won't be able to typically report on permissions and things like that. So I'll point out when I'm in each of the slides, the one where I'm the site owner, my name is Lightning Tools, and it's got the Brett Lonsdale avatar from about 15 years ago. Okay, so what we're going to do first of all is just have a look at how easily that content could be shared. So of course, as a site owner, I can pretty much share everything. So let's just jump back as demo user 5 here. And as demo user 5, one of the things I'm going to do is just navigate into my document library and browse into something like employment contracts. So demo user 5 could be a member of the human resources team, and what they may accidentally do is click onto the ellipsis here and hit copy link. And because the configuration is not set as it should be for this site, notice how that has just created an anyone link. So anyone with this link can edit this particular document. So that's the challenge there. We can be creating these anyone links, and the problem is that the site owner doesn't necessarily know that that's just happened, and even if they did, trying to find where it's happened amongst hundreds or thousands of documents will of course be quite challenging. So the reason why it's challenging, just to indicate that as well, one of the ways of finding sharing links across your site is to actually choose this manage access option from the edit control block, and as soon as we choose that, we'll be able to create links, but also view any links to that document in there. And that option is not available to you if you have more than one file selected. So it does become a file by file, folder by folder report using SharePoint out of the box that you would need to run in order to be able to understand all of your sharing links. And by the time you've done that, there'll be even more sharing links shared inside your site. So of course, one of the things we can do is to use SharePoint. Sorry, let me just go back in here as the site owner, and under site permissions, once this is enumerated, let me just give that a quick refresh. So under site permissions, we'll be able to set how people can share inside their SharePoint sites. So let's try that one more time. There we go. So under site permissions, in here where we've got the choose how members can share, notice that we can use the default where site owners and members, anybody with edit permissions can share files or folders, and that's really the challenge there, and that's how demo user 5 was able to go through and share that. So for something like a human resources site, we may want to lock that down to just site owners can share and so on, so that we don't lose control over it. Anyway, that's how easily sharing can occur inside your site. So let's talk about DeliverPoint now and how that can help with some of these challenges. So one of the things is, of course, nowadays people should be more security conscious. That includes site owners, but the problem is that SharePoint just isn't giving the site owners the appropriate tools to be able to report and manage permissions effectively, as we've just demonstrated. So with DeliverPoint, site owners can report across their sites, across their site collections, effectively anything that they have the rights to do so. They'll be able to perform sharing link reports. Just one single action, they'll be able to find all of the sharing links in one place, and they'll be able to manage those as well in bulk. So that's removing those sharing links, setting expiration dates on those sharing links, or even modifying who has access to those sharing links as well. You'll be able to manage your permission inheritance in bulk. You'll be able to label content and report on unlabeled content as well. And you'll also have visibility into any Entra security groups that may have also been granted access to your SharePoint site. So it becomes a lot easier for you to understand who has access to your sites, and also how that permission or how that sharing link came about as well. So site owners can do all of that either as an on-demand report, or you can also schedule them. So for convenience, you can have these reports provided to you every week or every month, whatever you prefer. And yeah, you'll also be able to change permissions as well. So that could be the inheritance, also operations such as copying, transferring, deleting, granting permissions, and modifying those sharing links, as I mentioned as well. So yeah, the reports in DeliverPoint are all actionable. So again, things like data access governance, it may give you a report that shows you where there's anyone links or everyone except external user groups created, but you still have to navigate to the content in order to be able to fix the problem. With SharePoint, we can, with DeliverPoint, we can produce a permission report or a sharing link report and take action from within inside that report itself. Not just on a single line, but even multiple lines, we can perform those changes on. So yeah, the roles that we're supporting, site owners with full control. You don't have to configure anything here as to who has access to DeliverPoint and who doesn't. We work in the context of the current user. If you have full control effectively, or the ability to enumerate and manage permissions through a custom permission level, you'll be able to use DeliverPoint on that content and manage or report on the permissions as a site owner. Typically, as a site collection admin, you'll be able to manage across a single site collection or even across multiple site collections that you are the owner of. So you'll be able to perform that. And then SharePoint administrators will also be able to report and manage on permissions on large scopes, including the ability to schedule permission reports on behalf of site owners or site collection administrators. So that is effectively an access review that you're creating on behalf of those owners and expecting them to report back and say, yeah, we've made the changes that we needed to make. Okay, so let's dive into DeliverPoint and take a look. So first of all, we'll again jump back into the human resources site as the site owner, and what we're going to do is just simply, in fact, let me just show you for contrast. If we go into the permissions panel that SharePoint provides, you can see it's very limited in the information that it's giving us. It's really just focusing on 3 groups. They're the default groups that you get within a SharePoint site. So we've got the visitors, the members, and the owners group. It's not giving me much detail beyond that. If we were to jump into the advanced permission settings, it does show me a little bit more. We can see that there's a couple of users here that have some direct permissions, and we've also got a group that didn't get a mention on the site permissions panel, and that is HR contributors, which has the contribute permissions within inside the site. So so there's more going on there. And if we go into the members group, you'll also see that I've got human resources managers, and that is a Entra security group. So if we click onto that, some of you may expect to see a list of people. You just don't. All we can see is the fact that the group is permissioned, but we have no clue potentially as a human resources manager who is inside the group at all. Okay, and then the other entry here is the Microsoft 365 group nested inside the SharePoint group. Happens to have the same name, which is the default, and can be quite confusing. Okay, so with that in mind, let's have a look at how DeliverPoint gives you more detailed reports. So what we can do is click onto the icon in the top right hand corner. That's visible only to people that do have permissions to report on permissions. So if we just jump back here as demo user 5, you'll see that that icon is not present. Likewise, throughout document libraries, if I select a couple of folders here, there's no mention of DeliverPoint on the shortcut menu, whereas for a site owner, if I was to go into the document library here, you'll notice that, yeah, we can select multiple folders, multiple files, and we can report on those accordingly with DeliverPoint. And like I said, there's no configuration to do. If you have full control to those items and to the site, you'll be able to report on them. So we're going to first off look at the Discover Permissions report. So this is a live report. It's using the Microsoft Graph in order to be able to produce the report. And what we see is a list of people that are permissioned. We've got the people card for convenience as well, so we can find out a little bit more about those people. As we scroll through, you'll occasionally see some odd looking things like this user, Brett Lonsdale, is in italic fonts, and that's not by error. That's actually because that is a external user. You can see that's shared with my Gmail account. So it's just a small indication to say this is a guest account, and we can dive into a bit more detail on that one to see what they have permissions to. You can sort and filter by username as well. So if we wanted to pick on a user, we can do, and we may see multiple permissions assigned to that person, as we're seeing here with Carl. And that's quite a common thing when people are, especially administrators and owners like that. They also tend to have the member permissions as well. But yeah, if people are assigning duplicate permissions because they couldn't see inside of a security group, then you'll also be able to see that that's the case using DeliverPoint. Likewise, you can sort, filter on the permission level. So if we want to focus our efforts on a specific permission level like edit, we can do that. And now we're seeing everybody with edit permissions, but not all of these permissions are necessarily granted in the same way, which we'll be able to determine on this permission via column over on the right hand side here. So if we take a look at demo user 9, for example, notice how demo user 9 is a member of human resource managers. And if you were listening, that is my Entra security group. And yeah, we've been able to enumerate that in order to be able to see demo user 9 is permissioned. If we go further down the list, demo user 5, we can see is just inside the M365 group, human resources members, and that's nested inside the SharePoint group, and so on. So that gives us the report that we're looking to see. I'm just going to clear that filter and show you how we can also flip that to render by groups first. So in here we can have a look at who our owners are. We can see if there's any nested groups. So that's the M365 group, the SharePoint group. We can also have a look inside of members and see that we've got the human resources managers. So again, that is the Entra security group. I can dive into that and see who's inside that Entra security group and so on. So we can look at the permissions in that way if we want to, or flip it to render all of the people. Every single report you can export. We can also save as a template, so that's really there for convenience, so that we can access the report more easily without reapplying filters and sort criteria and so on. We can get what we want to just by saving it as a template and running that template report. And we're also going to dive into some of these other things in a moment as well, such as being able to copy, transfer, delete permissions, manage inheritance, clone permissions between different lists and sites, etc. Take snapshots of permissions so we can easily recover them, and also get into some of that information protection, such as being able to apply sensitivity labels and so on as well. Like I said, this is a real-time report, but you do have also the ability to schedule some of these reports. So the discover permissions is one of those. If we decided that actually I want to schedule this and have it created every month, that's something we can also do, and we'll schedule some of those very, very shortly. And we've also got auditing capabilities, so we can audit who's making permission changes, who's been accessing links, so things like anyone links, and we'll be able to gather those reports together and access them when we need to. Okay, so that's the Discover Permissions report, just purely run at the site level. I'll show you how we can also access that across more content. But what I do want to do is just dive into how we can report on content inside of lists and libraries. On the library itself, you do have Discover Permissions there. And on the folders and the files, we've also got that capability of reporting bulk against multiple files or folders. Now, the Discover Permissions here, when I run that, it runs across everything that I selected. And what you may see just here is how offer letters, one of the folders, is dimmed versus employment contracts, for example, which is in full color. The reason for that is offer letters is inheriting permissions, whereas employment contracts has unique permissions. So we can always tell where the permissions are inheriting and where set to unique. And yeah, we can make changes to that from the actions menu by re-inheriting or breaking permission inheritance as well on that report. Okay, so that's Discover Permissions. What we're going to take a look at now is sharing links. So there's several sharing links that are within this site. If I hit the sharing links report, this is going to scan the site for any sharing links, and you can see it's found some. And we have several employment contracts that have been shared. including one here that was done in front of your eyes, and that was demo user 5, clicking that copy link on Robert Barr's employment contract. So that's the one that's literally available to anyone with the contribute permission. So if we get into the habit of running this report, we'll be able to see all of the sharing links in one place. We'll be able to select them. So I'm going to select all of these employment contracts with anyone links. And what we could do is set an expiration date if we want to. So we've got the ability to do that. Or we can just say, I want to remove these sharing links. They shouldn't have been there in the first place. And there's our actionable report. So we're able to go through and clean those up. The other thing we might do is jump into something that has been shared with specific people. So you can see there's a read permission given to several users, including a guest account. Again, it's in italic font. And then I've also got these other two users as well, demo user 7 and demo user 5. So with that, we could actually make a change. So we could drop myself because I'm a guest account, and we could in fact have my internal account instead, and we could change the permissions accordingly, even change it to an anyone if we want to. So we can do that without having to remove the share and reassign the sharing link. We can just manipulate those as we like. Okay, so that's a sharing link at the site level. And once again, if you want to focus on certain files and folders, we can do that from within inside the library as well. We can just hit the sharing links report, and yeah, sure enough, there aren't any on those folders anymore. Okay, permissions summary is a great starting place as well. If you're taking a look at a SharePoint site, wanting to discover a little bit more about the permissions configuration for that site, we can run this permissions summary report, and it tells us a bit about how many items are or how many items have unique permissions, how many sharing links exist, and you can see that's right up to date. There's only 2 now, and we can also see the folders or libraries or subsites with the most broken permission inheritance, and also the most sharing links as well. So if there's just certain folders where there's a lot of things being shared, we'll be able to see that and jump straight to that content. So let's have a look at items with unique permissions. We can click onto that, and it will enumerate for us anything with broken permission inheritance within the site. And if we start to just run the discover permissions report on this content, it's going to be perhaps hard to spot the difference. So what we've got is the ability to select multiple things that we might be concerned about, and from the reports menu, compare the permissions. So that comparison permission report is showing me what is different across each of those different objects that I selected. So for demo user 6, for example, I can see that they have design permissions to effectively everything except for the health and safety guideline folder. HR contributors has contribute permissions to the site, but not to the rest of this content. And that's quite an interesting one, because this permission inheritance was broken before the HR contributors group was created at the site level, which means that that HR contributors group will never get permissions to the other files and folders unless they're added manually, or you re-inherit permissions again. And the document library is actually also among those things with broken permission inheritance as well. Okay, so that's some of the things we can do from there, and likewise you can get into the sharing links report from here as well. So that's permission summary. We're going to also take a look at unlabeled files. So what we can do here is just scan the entire site, hit generate, and it will find anything that has gone unlabeled. Now we might have a policy that is automatically going through and assigning labels to your content. It may be because it contains things like social security numbers or credit card numbers and so on. So this content may have missed out for whatever reason. So what I can do is bulk select it, and from my actions menu here, we can come down to information protection and assign a sensitivity label. So what I might decide to do is run that now because it's critical that I do, and then we can assign something like a highly confidential sensitivity label, and we can also give the reason for doing so. So I'm just going to put these employment contracts and do a couple of exclamation marks just to be dramatic. We've set that, and I've also got the ability to roll back. If I check this box, that means that I can always undo this if I need to. So I'm just going to do that just in case, and we'll hit schedule. And that has now scheduled the assignment of the sensitivity label across that content. And that is using Purview behind the scenes in order to be able to do that. So it's not going to be there immediately, but within a couple of minutes, we should find that that content has all been labeled. We can always refresh this report to check. So yeah, not done quite yet, but we'll check back and we should find that that has been labeled accordingly. Okay, so that's some of the things we can do as a site owner as on-demand reports, and then you've also got the scheduled reports as well. So if we wanted to, I could schedule a sharing links report. Just because I've cleaned these up now means that doesn't mean that there couldn't be a bunch more next month. So what we can do is say every single month on a certain day of the month, I want to send myself an email with a link to the report so that I can check my sensitivity labels. And there's different options in here as to what you want to show or hide. So sharing links, and we can share the sensitivity labels in there if we want to. So I'm just going to hit schedule, and that will produce the report for me. Now the report is available under the main DeliverPoint page. So if we go into there, click onto the schedule menu, we can always come down to our scheduled reports and access them all from here. So the one that we've just triggered is at the very top here. We can see that sharing links report. So it's currently scheduled. I was the scheduler. We've got the scope, which was the site, and we can see when that was scheduled to run and what day. So it's obviously going to run on the 1st of the following month. But to see what these look like, we'll jump down towards the bottom here where we've got a sharing link report generated before, and we can open that up, and there's the sharing links report. So obviously not live data because we're down to 2 sharing links now, but these are the sharing links that we did have at that time. So hopefully over a period of time, you start to see your sharing links being cleaned up. And just as a side note, if you did want to jump into some report on them again, we can just simply run a live report. So if I did see something that was critical in there, we can still select them, and from the reports menu, just run the sharing links report again, and you can see it's not actually returning any on the scope of those 2 folders anymore. So that includes, in fact, all of those. It's just to see if we can find one. I'm not sure which ones I deleted. Yeah, sure enough, there's 2 sharing links that are still in existence, and we could delete them from there if we wanted to. Okay, so they're the scheduled reports, and you can always get into the properties of those scheduled reports as well to see what was there. You can even fine tune it from here as well. So if we wanted it more regularly than monthly, we can make it weekly, save that, and we've just updated that report rather than sort of doing it again, if that makes sense. Okay, so these are things that we can do as site owners from within the site contextually, which is powerful. If we jump into the main DeliverPoint page again, you'll notice that when we come in here, we've still got the scope of the current site that I'm in, which is human resources. And you're going to see more reports available to you. You're also going to see lots of actions available to you as well, which we haven't got into yet. But we've also got the tree view, which means we can actually span multiple sites, multiple site collections in our reporting as well on the content that we have access to. So we'll come back to that in just a moment. I'm just going to collapse that again. First of all, let's just have a quick look at a advanced Discover permissions report, which is available from here. So this is one that's focused on the permissions assigned. And by running that one, rather than running the permission report on the site and then on folders and lists and libraries, etc., I can run this report, pre-filter it if I want to. So I can look for just guest accounts. I can look for disabled users in the Active Directory. I can look for people permissioned in a certain way, etc., and apply that filter ahead of time. Or I can just bring back everything, which is what I'm going to do. And we can also include any subsites in here. We can include lists and libraries with unique permissions, folders and files with unique permissions. Any sharing links can also be included. We can include sensitivity labels. And even if we want to, we can include things that are inheriting permissions. So we'll tick those as well. If we come across the everyone group or large groups with thousands of users in, we can actually delay the retrieval of the security group members, which will speed up the report as well and give us the ability to lazy load the members of the report. So I'm just going to hit generate on this. So you can see this is going through now, not just the site, but as we scroll down, it's also included lists and also items. So everything in here, we've got the sensitivity labels showing as well. And from here, we can start to report and filter, manipulate our permissions. So again, we'll pick on Carl here. I can see all of the content that Carl has permissions to in terms of files and folders. And of course, do the same thing on lists and libraries and sites and things like that as well. Okay, so that's an advanced discover permissions. I'm just going to rerun a quick discover permissions from here as well. So we're just back to looking at the site, because what I do want to demonstrate is the ability to also manipulate those permissions as well. And earlier on, you saw that there was 2 users with direct permissions to the site. We definitely don't want that. So what we could do is select these 2 users in here. From the actions menu, we could come down to delete permissions or even revoke permissions. We'll do that one in a minute, because what I'm going to do is actually just demonstrate how we can also copy and transfer permissions and so on as well. So I'm going to pick on this user, demo user 7. Now, if we filter on demo user 7, you'll see that they're actually assigned multiple permissions. Some of them are edit in various ways, through the Entra security group, through the M365 group, and directly as a member of the SharePoint group. So somebody definitely wanted them in that SharePoint group. And then we've also got the direct permissions assigned and limited access assigned to that user as well. I'm just going to select this one here for now, and then we're going to choose the actions menu, come down to account management, and transfer these permissions. So I'm transferring them because maybe this person is going to leave the organization and somebody's taking over their role. So what I can do is type in the user that I want to transfer the permissions to. And in the case that I only want to affect the direct permissions, I can clear these 2 checkboxes where it will modify the SharePoint groups and the M365 groups. If I actually also want to modify those as well, I just check them. So any groups that demo user 7 is a member of, demo user 9 will become a member of instead. That will not include the Entra security groups, because that could have a knock-on effect to other systems as well. We do have our rollback as well, so we've got that safety net to get back to. And notice in here we can also process any lists, folders, and items within the scope of this site as well. So that would mean anything where demo user 7 has unique permissions on folders, files, lists, and libraries, demo user 9 would get those permissions instead. All right, so we're just going to run that, and it's going through the content, going through the groups, and you get the log as to what's just happened here. And if we just jump back to our Discover Permissions report, where we're filtering by demo user 7, let's refresh it. And you can see there's 1 permission left, because this permission is granted through the Human Resources Managers, which is the Entra security group. So that's the only permission assigned. And what I'm going to do now is pretend weeks have gone past. This user's only just noticed that they can't access things. They've phoned the help desk. So what we can do is select that transfer permissions option. We can verify this is the job, when it was created, who created it, etc. Roll that back, and this is going to put things back to how they were again. So now if we go back to the discover permissions and refresh, all those permissions are back with demo user 7 and no harm done. Okay, so that's the transfer, and similar to that is the ability to copy permissions. So we can come down to account management and choose copy permissions instead. That just means that demo user 7 will retain their permissions, but whatever permissions they did have would also be given to the target account. We have a delete permissions, which should delete all of the permissions, again, bar the ones through the security groups. And we also have a revoke permissions as well. So here, this is a little bit odd how demo user 7 has both full control and design assigned directly. So what I could do is go into the revoke permissions there, deselect the permission, hit run. And if we again just refresh that report, we can see they've just been left with the permission that was intended. So this is a way of tidying up permissions without actually having to delete all permissions from that account. Okay, so that's our actions that we can perform on users. And of course, we can do that in multiple places, but we happen to do it from the Discover Permissions report here. Do want to touch on a new feature. That is that if anybody noticed, maybe not, let's just say that we want to transfer permissions from demo user 7, but not yet. We want to do it from the 1st of September. So what I can do is now schedule this job to take place on a specified date. So I'm going to put it on the 1st of next month, and I just want to do it once and send an email to validate that it's done. And then also I want to put some comments as to why I'm doing it as well. So I'm going to put demo user 7 is leaving and demo user 8 is replacing them. So now we have the information backing up as to why we made this change. So let's put demo user 8 in here. And again, we've got those same options. We can support the rollback, we can modify the groups, etc., and just schedule that. And upon that day, those permissions will be transferred from demo user 7 over to demo user 8, and we don't have to worry about it on the day. Okay, so as a brand new feature of being able to schedule jobs, so that includes the scheduling of delete permissions, the scheduling of granting permissions, and of course the copy and transfer. And whilst I was doing this in a site, it's even more powerful to be able to do this across multiple site collections perhaps as well. So there may not just be one site, but we could select the human resources site collection and anything else in here that we feel they may need access to. So we could go through and select multiple site collections in there. And you'll notice that when we go to perform something like copy permissions, the scope is set to all 3 of those site collections. So it'll iterate through the same options. So the different subsites, the lists, folders, and items, and perform those changes in bulk across the scope of those 3 site collections only. All right, so that's our new features of scheduling jobs, and also the ability to provide comments on the jobs as well. What I'm going to do is just deselect everything here. Let's go back to our human resources site, because what I also want to touch on is some of those key areas that we talked about earlier, and that was looking for everyone permissions or anyone sharing links. And this is something that I could do just within that site collection, or I could jump into some other site collections as well. Just simply select some of those, and from the report, go down to quick reports and look for the anyone sharing links. So it's not just looking for the one instance of anyone. It's looking for anyone can read, anyone can edit, anyone with a link and the password can read, and anyone with a link and the password can edit as well. And you can add to these if you want to. So you can create another condition and say allow editing is checked, or block download is not checked, and so on and so forth. So the reports can get more involved in than what I've just set here. We can then hit generate, and that's going through, as you can see, 215 lists. And I didn't see how many items, but all of that to find one single anyone link that could save our bacon by removing that. Okay, and that would have taken us an awful long time to go through all of those lists, let alone all the folders and the files and the list items that exist in those as well. So that's looking at the anyone links. Equally, we can jump down here and look for the everyone permissions as well. So again, different criteria. It's looking for the everyone except external users, the everyone group, the all users members, and all users windows as well. And again, we could add further conditions in there, so we can look for external users, how they're permissioned, what permission level they have, etc. if we want to further filter that. But I'm just going to hit generate on this. And again, it's found 2 instances where the everyone group was granted permissions. So once again, we can just select those, and this time we would come up to delete those permissions. So we're deleting the permissions from the everyone group, run that, and we've cleaned it up. Okay, so some tremendous time saving, but also disaster saving by doing that. All right, we've got some other site collection scoped reports as well. So again, with a site collection selected, in fact, I'm going to jump into a sales site here. So Lightning Tool Sales, going to run a report on dead accounts. So dead accounts are users that are typically disabled or deleted from what was Active Directory or Entra, and they still have permissions within inside the site collection. So here we've got the disabled accounts. We can go through and remove those if we want to, and likewise with the dead accounts, we could go through and remove that. So that will clean up those. We've also got unlicensed users as well. So if we've been a bit lazy and we just simply go through and delete the E3 license or E5 license from a user because they've left, that they're still showing up as having permissions, we can go through and remove those unlicensed users, all of their permissions in one go, and we can also report on any guest accounts as well. So we can see our guest accounts, and we've got the ability to remove them if we want to. All right, so these are some of those site collection scoped reports. Auditing is also a capability. So we can select again our site collection, and we can audit permission changes and audit sharing link usage as well. So the steps to creating the audit report, we just give it the time frame that we're looking at. So we can look at the last 7 days, or we can choose a period longer than that, and we can choose what we want to include inside our audit report. So we've got site permissions and list permissions and item permission changes, SharePoint membership changes, Entra group membership changes, and we've also got the sensitivity label changes and so on that we can also include in the report, and then hit generate. And this will run behind the scenes. When it's done, we will be able to access it by coming down to our activity audit reports. So this is the one that I've just triggered, not yet started. But if we have a look at some that we did earlier, you'll first of all be able to see what was included. So this is looking at site, list, and item permission changes only. if we click onto the icon to open up the report, we can see all of those changes that took place. And again, these are changes not just with DeliverPoint, but also using the SharePoint UI as well. So we've got items, sites, and lists as the object type, the name of the object, who initiated the change. We've got the date and time it was initiated, and whether it was a grant or a revoke, the permissions that were assigned, who were they assigned to, and the IP address of the person who made the change. And then we've also got the same thing for permission inheritance changes, and we've also got sharing link changes as well. So here you can see I've been a bit sneaky. Looks like I've gone through and granted my guest account with a sharing link and then removed it. Wonder why. So yeah, that's the sort of thing that we would pick up on using that audit report. Okay, the link usage is also useful. If I did run a sharing link report and I found an anyone link that concerned me, what we could do is create an audit on the sharing link usage, who actually clicked on that link, in other words. So when we go back into that report, we'll be able to see any such items. So you can see I've grabbed the sharing link for some of these items, and then you can go through and execute that report. And this is what you would hopefully see, is that nobody actually visited that link, and therefore no harm done, but you've perhaps still got that non-conformity on the fact that the link was created in the first place. Okay, so just a couple of other features that are available with DeliverPoint. You've got usage, so you can see what's being used, what's not being used within inside a certain time frame. That's useful to see based on the fact that if something is not being used, not being visited, then we may decide that we want to remove it to stop it being a security risk. So we've got that information to hand as well. Also, the site permission properties. I mentioned right at the very start of the webinar how it's good to go and check who's allowed to share content with inside your sites. So this is something that you can actually go through and select multiple site collections, and you can then set the properties for each of those. So in bulk, we can go through and choose who can share files, who can share sites, who do the access requests go to, and so on that content. So it just gives you a quick way of being able to go through and address that concern. The other thing I was going to point out was the snapshots, which we also talked about. So let's just suppose I've got the permissions exactly as I want them now. What we can do is come up to the actions menu and take a snapshot. So we'll give this a name of Human Resources Webinar Demo. We'll choose to snapshot the sites and the lists, maybe not too concerned about the items. Let's just take the snapshot there. And in the future, as several months have passed, what we can do is come back to the snapshot, choose the recover permissions, and it will show me what snapshots were taken. So we're not going to see any differences, of course, right now, but if I refer to a snapshot that I took a while back, in fact, that one, let's compare the permissions, and we're comparing how the permissions are now with when the snapshot was taken. And if we want to, we can recover the permissions and put them back to the snapshot, so that we're back to square one again, which is where we want to be. Okay, so we've got about 5 minutes left. So I'll open up for some questions in a moment. But yeah, first of all, just to summarize, we've seen how DeliverPoint can enhance security and compliance, empower business users. There's not many products that are designed for the business user. A lot of them are designed for IT or compliance teams to be able to do this, but hopefully you've recognized how site owners and site collection administrators also have that shared responsibility of information security as well, and being able to maintain it. Hopefully, if anything, it's also going to increase your confidence when you can see that content is being shared in the right way. It's going to help you get ready for Copilot. And it's quite a complement to some IT products as well, like Purview. Not necessarily a replacement for them, but it is something that is empowering those business users to stay on top of permissions and not just IT. And then also we're improving governance without the IT bottlenecks. So one of the challenges there is we've got somebody onboarding. We want to grant them permissions, and then we're having to wait for IT to perhaps make those changes. This is something that we can do more confidently ourselves as site owners. So if you are interested in learning more, you can book a demo. So you can do that via our website. Just go onto DeliverPoint, hit the book a demo link. There is also a 30-day trial, so you can download that, drop that into your environment, and run that. Or of course, reach out to us on sales@lightningtools.com or help@lightningtools.com if you've got a technical question. You can also reach out to me directly if you want on brett@lightningtools.com. But other than that, we'll take a look at some of the questions that have been asked in here. Great. So is there a way to potentially restrict the report options to only admins like site collection administrators instead of full control owners? Yes. So there is some PowerShell commandlets that come with DeliverPoint that do restrict that as well. So you can also restrict just certain elements. So if you wanted site owners to be able to report on permissions, but you don't want them to be able to necessarily make changes, that's something that you can do as well. You can manipulate the actions menu. Another question is there a method to clearly see the folder structure to know where the folder existed in the hierarchy? Yes. So if we just jump back into one of the reports, so what I'm going to do here is go into the advanced discover permissions. In fact, I'm just going to answer this with two different things. So when I choose, I want to include lists, libraries, folders, and items. And for this, I'm just going to look for inherited as well, so we get a bit more returned. There's a checkbox here that says show the folder structure for items. So when I generate that, let's come down to our items here, you can see that, yeah, we've got that folder structure showing. And again, you can clearly identify here that the employment contracts has unique permissions, whereas the file has inherited permissions, again, due to that font dimming that we do. The other thing I was going to just elaborate on there as well, which often comes up as a question, is when we're at this level and I want to maybe report on employment contracts down. So I want to see what's underneath this, what subfolders do I have, what files and folders are in there, and so on. I just want to focus on that folder and the contents within it. What I do is I go into the DeliverPoint menu item. So the scope for my report is employment contracts, and then I do the advanced discover permissions, and I include these options here. So items with unique permissions, etc. And also I'm going to include the inherited ones as well. So when I generate that, we're only looking in that folder and down. We're not necessarily in every folder and down as well. So hopefully that answers your question there. What is the maximum span of time the audit report can cover? That's 100 days. Okay, and if we install the 30-day trial, can it easily be updated to the full version? It is a full version. So yeah, you can drop the trial into the app catalog. It is a SharePoint framework app. If you decide to go ahead with the product, you can license panel here, drop in your license key, hit activate, and you've now got the full version, which is exactly the same as a trial version. It just means that obviously it's not going to expire. And if you did want to trial it and want to easily remove it, it is just an app in the app catalog, and removing it from the app catalog will fully remove DeliverPoint. And I'm just going to congratulate myself at this point that we've just finished the webinar and the questions and the answers bang on the top of the hour. So I'm just going to thank you all for joining. I hope you found this really useful, and look forward to any questions in the future that you may have about DeliverPoint. All right, speak to you soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.